Money FM 89.3, the best of Saturday mornings. Wide World on Money FM 89.3.
All right. Luxury travel is undergoing a transformation. The key ingredient behind this change is speed and sound. What does that mean? Unlike previous generations who equated luxury with opulence, grandeur, there is a new definition for what it means to travel in style. Now, for well-traveled individuals looking to escape, luxury can often lie in authenticity and personalization and sustainability as well. That shift is leading the rise of what we now call silent luxury. Here to talk to us about his research and thoughts into it, Dr. Guy Llewellyn, assistant professor at EHL Singapore. Guy, great to have you with us today. Silent travel, that's a new one. What does that mean exactly?
Thanks very much for having me. It's really a case of stopping going to the name brand, the big players in the market, and stop having the flashy experiences and really just try to disconnect, to really still have luxury, but in a way that it is more bespoke, more off the beaten path. You're no longer doing it just to post on Instagram, and you're doing it because you want to actually be there and connect with the audience.
Is this a generational thing? Because the reason I ask, I was just in Phuket, just came back last night, and I went to some of the tourist spots, and the selfie generation is strong. I mean, people, you have this beautiful sunset in the Cape in the southern part of Phuket, and all people could do was just try to figure out if their selfie stand was in the right place and if they looked the right way, and it was everything except actually taking a moment to sit there and look at what was going on. So is it a generational thing?
A little bit, because I think people that are now like the millennials that are kind of aging out of that selfie movement are really now trying to enjoy it. I mean, how many times you go to a fireworks show and everybody's trying to record the fireworks?
Right.
Nobody ever watches that. I mean, you sit there and you take 20, 30 pictures of a sunset. You maybe look at one later on.
That is such a good point.
Turn around and enjoy what you're actually being there and looking at.
It kind of gets to a sort of mindfulness discussion, if I can use a term that may fit it or not. Is it mindfulness sort of travel as well, in addition to silent travel?
It really is, because you really just want to be part of. You're no longer there to try to just do the top 10 list. You don't want to just see every single thing that's on there. You want to maybe see one or two, but in a deeper way. And so you want to actually connect in a holistic viewpoint of the location rather than just running around, group itineraries, everything scheduled. It's more open itineraries. It's more just relaxing, being part of the environment.
Authenticity, restraint, immersion. Singaporean, Hong Kong travelers, maybe getting rid of some of the flashier travels. At EHL, are you talking about this? EHL, of course, global education on hospitality and in the service sector. Is this something that you're either finding from research or you're starting to train those who are studying at EHL in ways to try to understand this trend?
We're going into a different direction of what we're actually doing the training on. So before, when you do training for luxury properties, it's very much of your standard operating procedures. You must do this, this, and this, and you have your exact playbook of how do you treat a customer. And so now we're seeing is a trend from switching from SOPs to playbooks, because they want people to be more present, more personable. Instead of just being a robot of, I need to say these things in a row, now let us be a human being and treat someone with respect rather than just saying things as you need to say things.
Is that easier or harder to do depending on the environment? Because I'm thinking a mass market hotel where they've got tour groups lined up to check in versus a bespoke hotel. I'll tell you, a few weeks ago, I was in Bangkok at the Capella Bangkok, and I did an interview with Antonio Saponara, the GM there, which we will actually play out at 11:30 this morning here on the show. But, ultra luxury, but at the same time, everything was about the individual that came up to the check-in counter, the guest counter. And in fact, they don't even check you in at a counter. They do it in a living room setting is where the check-in is. But they can do that because they don't have a massive number of of patrons. They have 100 rooms, 110 rooms. Is it different? Is this what you're talking about? This attitude, is it different when you've got a Hilton on Orchard Road with 1,000 rooms?
It's very different, and that's the change to the quiet luxury. Is you're not going to the Hiltons, you're not going to these mass market 1,000-key hotels. You are going to more of the Capellas, the Six Senses, the Almonds, where you're getting that luxury experience, that boutique village, rather than a massive resort. Mm-hmm. And you're becoming more in tuned with them. You have a much lower guest to
staff ratio,
yeah,
all that, yeah.
Because they really want you to connect with the property, and so you're seeing a lot of these small 2-3 sort of villa hotels, and those are the ones that people are gravitating to, just to be part of that new wave of, we don't need to show off where we're staying, but we want to have the luxury experience, but in a villa setting, which is a much smaller, more personal relationship.
Talking with Dr. Guy Llewellyn, assistant professor at EHL Singapore. The topic is silent luxury, a new trend that is happening where people are looking for more personalization, authenticity, sustainability. I hear what you're saying on that, looking for some of those hotels, but it's a big swing for a lot of folks, especially if you have a family with you. These hotels are easily $400, $500, $600, $700 a night for that kind of personalization. Is there a way for somebody who's on a much lower budget than that, trying to get the same experience? How do they get it without having to stay at an ultra premium brand?
So it depends on where you want to go, because there's a lot of smaller, more localized properties around. So you don't need to go to the massive one. But if you look to see some of the smaller, off the beaten path, really, the ones that have the 50, 100 to, sort of size properties. But it's not just a case of the hotel, because there's everything else that you're doing while on vacation can also give you that freedom.
Okay, take us through that. What else? How else can we change that experience?
So what are you doing while you're there? So if you're in New York, do you have to be walking down Fifth Avenue and doing all your shopping? Or can you go across and can you have a more personalized one shop, two shops of doing the same sort of shopping, but it's now just you and the designer? If you're going to Bangkok,
and you're saying go to Brooklyn.
Yeah, pretty much. And then make sure you get your Coney Island dog at the same time, and then you have a good time. But it's like if you're going to Bali,
although Brooklyn, by the way, is not cheap anymore. No. By the way, as well.
But so if you're going across to different places, are you trying to have your entire itinerary scheduled from 8:00 in the morning to 8:00 at night, or do you say, listen, it's more open ended? We want to go over here, but if it takes us 30 minutes, if it takes us 3 hours, we want to make sure that we fully embrace and really we want to understand this area rather than just doing the check boxes that I have now seen this area.
Right. Is there a way that that folks can access this type of experience? I'm looking at, Trip.com had their momentum survey in 2025. But if somebody is going to a destination and they aren't necessarily staying at a hotel that's got a great concierge that's going to help them, how do they tap into how they can change the experience to what you're talking about?
It really starts from before you even get there. Yeah. Just having that mindset of, we're not doing this just to take the Instagram photos. We want to get off the social media, put that away. That's secondary. Most people that do this, the quiet luxury, don't really take that many photos. And they're definitely not posting it. You maybe share with your close friends, but you're not posting your activities. So it's the mindset shift before you even get there to say, we're not running around. We are just going to take our time. We're not going to see everything, but that's what we want. So you have to go in with the mindset of, we just want to walk around this one small part for the next 3 days, and we want to live like a local and be part of this little tiny 2, 3, 5 block area than trying to see everything. But you have to go into that with that mindset.
Is there a case to be made in that vein for Airbnbs or Vibo or whatever, vacation property, staying at one of those in a local neighborhood and seeing more versus staying at a hotel on an isolated property?
To a degree, I think that's for like the mass market version is that it helps. But when you're talking about quiet luxury, they still want to be taken care of. So you still want that concierge, but you just don't want to do it when you know at a penthouse suite. You want to do it in your own villa. So I think it depends if you're talking about the middle of the road, the mass market version, or that quiet side of things.
We used to call that boutique hotels.
Yes.
It was 20 years ago now or so that I stayed at one in Vieques, in just outside of Puerto Rico, and it was a beautiful little place. I think 10 rooms or something like that. But it was so bespoke. And it was not expensive at all, as I recall. But it was so bespoke that, you know, you really felt like the owner and the few staff members they had were taking care of you and ready to answer any question. At EHL, how are you now training your hospitality students to look at this? And because maybe this might be a trend now, but will it be the trend in 2 years from now or 3 years from now? Who knows what will happen? But how are you expressing this to students?
But that's the fun part of hospitality is that the shifts always change.
Right.
And so we can't really say that this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your career because typically by the time they even graduate, the trends have changed. So you're not trying to train. We don't try to go in and say, this is how you need to run a business. But we give the tools and the mindset of how do you take care of someone and how do you understand how the business is going, knowing that all of these trends are going to change. So quiet luxury is probably going to stick around for a while because it kind of helped with the COVID pandemic of people wanting that escape and wanting to escape from social media. And I think that trend will continue for quite some time. But you're still going to get the younger generation that want to take the photos, want to take that flashy part of it. So I think it will. I think you know the people doing it are going to change. But for us training our students, it's really a case of thinking ahead and not trying to be put into a box.
Interestingly, a couple of months ago, we had a guest on that was talking about the White Lotus effect and people wanting to go to places that had been famous on TV. Of course, this is nothing new either in terms of people wanting to go to famous locations. But the inference now in a recent discussion was people want to go to places like have been filmed in the White Lotus, whether it's in Italy or Hawaii or now in Koh Samui, and get their selfies at that restaurant and get their selfies, you know, at that hotel. You know, hotel booking rates have skyrocketed because of this. I think the hotel in Maui where it was filmed, like they've got 400% increase in bookings from the season 1 booking of White Lotus. So this is a real thing that hoteliers and people in that business actually kind of want to promote because it is driving business, this idea of the selfie culture and all that. How do you reconcile those two elements with getting the mass traveler who's just maybe looking for that, and then what you're talking about, the slow travel?
It's just two different types of tourists. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, you know, but if you look at what the White Lotus was of being that digital detox sort of, you know, property, that is also becoming very massive in popularity of to actually go to a property in that vein and check in your phone when you actually, you know, on check-in. Like your phone goes away and then you're just there present with other people. And so that is becoming popular. But at the same time, everybody wants to go to that hotel, you know, from the White Lotus because it was the White Lotus. So you have those two different types of people, the ones that want the detox, that want the quiet luxury, and those that want to still be chasing that bandwagon effect and being there and seeing it and want to say, I stayed in the room or I ate at the restaurant. So that you just have two different sets of people that are traveling. Something for everybody, hopefully? Hopefully. All right, Guy Llewellyn, thank you for being with us today. Dr. Guy Llewellyn, who is an associate professor at EHL Singapore, talking about silent luxury. Thanks for being with us today. Thank you very much.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.